taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week. This is Augmented Reality, presented by the Triple S League.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Augmented Reality podcast for June 10th, 2020. This is your source for news, leaks, and analysis about games in the gaming industry. Wednesday edition of the show, and we are going to be covering the insane beginning to, well, I should say the beginning to an insane plethora of gaming events and streams that are going to be happening. It's pretty crazy how much stuff is going to be taking place over the next little while, over the next few weeks. If you're curious about everything that's going to be going on, if you want to stay up to date, join our Discord server. I put up a schedule of every event I could find, connected with the IGN Summer of Gaming, connected with the Summer Game Fest, the Guerrilla Collective, Night City Wire, Future Games Show, New Game Plus Expo, and a whole bunch more. There's one that's going to be focused on VR. There's just a whole bunch of stuff that's going to be happening, and there's a bunch that have not even been announced yet. The next 3 months are going to be packed. So, we have a schedule there that we're going to keep updating as more information comes in. But anyway, the first stream in IGN's Expo, the Summer of Gaming 2020, took place today. We watched it. I watched it with some folks on the Discord server. Like, we were all just watching our own stream, but talking about it together in one of the voice rooms. Had a blast. It was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, Saib, you were not able to... you're just kind of scrambling to catch up with everything that happened.
Yep.
Yes, sadly,
unfortunately,
your schedule just is really up in the air right now. But we're going to cover all of that today. We're going to cover the highlights, the lowlights, plus just kind of a bit of the more generic gaming news that's going on. But if you're listening live, please do say hello in the live chat. Send us your questions and comments there as well. We will read and respond to as many as we can throughout the podcast, although time is tight today, as it always is on Wednesdays. Don't forget to slam that like button. It really likes it rough, and it tells us and YouTube that you appreciate this content. All right, let's get right into it here. We're going to I'm going to knock out these other stories first, and then we'll get into everything that happened with the IGN Expo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there was the price of the PlayStation 5 has possibly been leaked.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
Obviously, take this with a grain of salt, but on Amazon, it was listed for a price of £599.99, so just about £600 on Amazon UK. And this was posted by Wario64, who routinely posts such things. Apparently, somebody was able to order it at that price. Now, that could be a placeholder. It could change. It might not have. It might have been accidentally listed. So yeah, take it with a grain of salt. But that's pretty. That's for the 2 terabyte version. That's pretty pricey though, isn't it?
Yep.
That's...
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, that's going to be a fair bit of money.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not as much as getting like a really decent PC, but again, with PCs is like you if you're doing it right, you're kind of replacing things as it goes, not necessarily always making those purchases. My computers typically last me for like, usually they last me 6 to 7 years at a time. They used to last me more when I would like, overclock and overheat them and do all that kind of fun stuff. So, I mean, in the right scenario, yeah, a lot of this kind of stuff is like, wow, that's weird that it's going for so high. But we expected this from PlayStation, and we expect that Microsoft will try and underbid them by about $100. So anywhere from $50 to $100, and yeah. So this is kind of like, it's kind of going as we've suspected so far. So far, nothing here is really shocking. From those of us who have been kind of anticipating this stuff. So again, I anticipate that once the numbers are out, and it will be around, $500 to $600. Basically, that's kind of the ballpark. So $499, $599. You'll see those kind of prices, kind of spread out here or there, and then we're going to see Microsoft come in and undercut that.
All right then. Yeah. Still, that is a chunk of change. That is a chunk of change. I mean, yes, granted, like I paid more than that for my new PC, but again, it's modular. Like this one will last me a long time. But anyway, take with a grain of salt. Again, more news on the loot box front. The UK could be moving towards classifying loot boxes as gambling, which would of course have a profound impact on the gaming community. They have the UK government has put out an official call for evidence on loot boxes and surprise mechanics in video games, such as FIFA Ultimate Team. That's one of the worst offenders and one of the biggest centers. There's a lot of controversy surrounding that one when it comes to loot boxes and those predatory microtransactions. So that could be happening. So we'll keep an eye on that. But again, like not too much has happened right at this moment, but except that they have put out this official formal call for evidence. So that means that they obviously are concerned enough that they want more info.
Yeah. And I really hope that this hits them square in the shoulders.
And then I've pulled up a summary of the Destiny 2 The Next Chapter live stream, which took place yesterday. That was kind of one of the first kickoff events for the I believe it wasn't the IGN, it was the other one. It was the Summer Games Fest, which is the one Jeff Keighley's involved with. Actually, let me just pull up the schedule here. So yeah, that took place yesterday, and it was just all focused on Destiny. I wasn't able to catch it myself, but there is just for those of you who are into Destiny, I thought I'd just do a quick summary. So the stream covered the future of the game and the Shadowkeep expansion, which was leaked earlier this week, and the game is coming to Stadia. So they outlined 3 core values for the game. The first is to commit to the game and creating new content for it on a seasonal basis. The second is to refocus the social aspect and make it easier to find people to interact and play with. And the final is to make it possible to play Destiny 2 anywhere, which is why they're stepping towards Google Stadia. Now, again, I don't know that will accomplish the goal that they've stated there, because you have to have a pretty ideal setup, especially with a game like that, I think, to make it work on a system like Stadia. Destiny 2 New Light, which I'm not 100% sure what that is, but it's with Destiny 2 New Light, the entire game is going free to play. Initially, Guardians will play through a remastered version of the first mission from Destiny 1, and then they'll be able to access everything in the game. This makes it super easy to jump into a raid with a friend who won't shut up about the game, and even easier to enjoy everything in Destiny 2 for free, apart from Forsaken and Shadowkeep. I'll be honest, I have no idea what any of that means, but I'm just reading word for word a summary on DestinyNewsHub.com.
So Destiny has a lot of bloat in it, an enormous amount of bloat in the realm of like in the realm of like I don't know what you want to call it, like the content of the game. It has an enormous amount of bloat, and it's just not easy for a person to hop in and to experience stuff, because you'll hop in, you'll come across an NPC or a mission or something like that, and you'll spend 10 hours or something like that farming it, and suddenly you'll realize that you have been completely wasting your time, because that is no longer relevant, and none of the items you're getting is relevant from that for forever. And you're learning stuff and you're speccing stuff that's useless. So that's their current problem. This is an attempt, I think, to fix that problem and to make it easier for new people to jump into the game. They're also going to be like trying to vault certain content, so putting content away and basically making it not accessible, because it's a lot of bloatware in the experience, and they don't want that. They want a smoother experience for the people. So they're actually trying to like customize it and create it to be more of an actual like a live service that's actually like formulaic as a live service, and not so much as the MMO experience that you find in a lot of MMOs. And WoW, you have a lot of like, they have a lot of like directing like notifications, and their big new expansion that's coming out probably this year actually seeks to completely revamp that process where all of the old content is shelved in an interesting way, in that you kind of have this like starting experience. You pop out, you do the starting experience, and it's like, great, now you can level from 10 to 50 in any of these worlds, stories from the past, and it gives you the access to all of them. And if you do that, you'll get to 50, and then by the time you get to 50, you go and pop into the new zone, or it's like 55 or something like that, and then you pop into the new zone in the last couple of levels to 60 you get from doing that. So this is Destiny's response to that kind of a system where a lot of people are saying, yeah, this is really boring, and a lot of this stuff, like, I can waste my time in here and not know what I was actually supposed to be grinding. I kind of get this feeling from Warframe when I play Warframe. It's like I don't really know like what exactly I'm supposed to be doing, like farming up to and trying to progress. That's always something that I've had difficulty with. But talking to people in Destiny, that feeling, that sense is like 100 times worse, because there's just so much more to play there, and there's just so much more to do. So this is good. This is really interesting, because I don't know where they're gonna. I don't know how well this will work out, but it does seem as if they're interested in going into a more of an official route like this. So yeah, it's very interesting.
Right. And then they also this talks about the Shadowkeep expansion. The expansion that leaked earlier this week is real. In Shadowkeep, we go back to the moon, which has been wrecked by new cracks as something dark stirs in the dark below. Eris Morn has awoken something that's bringing old foes like Crota, Oryx, and Skolas back to life for us to fight. There's going to be seasons, and there's a whole bunch more. There's a good summary of it on DestinyNewsHub.com. I'm not going to try to decipher any more of it because I know nothing about Destiny, honestly. So we'll get on to. Plus, I don't think there's a huge number of people in our audience that play it, but there was some interest, so I wanted to cover that a little bit. And just to answer a question, to answer Roman Trotwa here, don't recognize your username, but welcome if you're new to the show. 2 terabyte SSD for $600, not bad. Perhaps not, but that's actually, it was listed at £600, so we're talking more closer to $800 US. So anyway, just for some clarification there. All right, so let's get into what happened with day one of Summer of Gaming 2020. This is IGN's Expo event that's going on. There's going to be a number of live streams over the next little while. Again, I have put up a schedule of all the big events. Actually, I'll just cover quickly this week what's going to be going on. So the Expo debut was today. It was the number one. It was the first of IGN's live streams, and there was a number of new game announcements and trailers and interviews and things, and that's what they're going to carry on doing over the next couple of weeks. Tomorrow, Thursday, 9 a.m. Pacific, is the Escapist Indie Showcase, which will showcase over 70 upcoming indie games. Then IGN Expo 2 begins at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. Going to be more stuff revealed there. Tomorrow, 1 p.m. Pacific time, is the PlayStation 5 Future of Gaming, an hour-long showcase of upcoming games for the PS5. And then on Friday, June 12th, IGN Expo number 3, but Saturday is packed. So we're going to have our podcast in the morning at the exact same time, unfortunately, as so actually I don't know if we'll restream or what we'll do there, but the Guerrilla Collective Day 1 is happening Saturday. Yeah, and yes, it starts. We're
gonna be streaming that.
So like, yeah, we'll because that's going to be covering a whole bunch of games, including Baldur's Gate 3. Mm-hmm. So we don't want to tear everybody away from that for the podcast. So we'll either reschedule the podcast or we'll do something live. Maybe we'll restream the event if we can. Later that morning, 11 a.m. Pacific time is the PC gaming show. This is all evening if you're in Europe, of course, and like middle of the night if you're in if you're in Australia, New Zealand area. But yeah, so the PC gaming show, 11 a.m. Pacific time, and then the Future Games show, which is presented by Games Radar, is 2 p.m. Pacific time. So there's just so much happening on Saturday. So yeah, the next week's going to be insane, and then the next 3 months are going to be packed with info.
Mm-hmm. So just to because some people are doing some numbers, if you are Canadian and these prices are not being adjusted for region, if you want to pick up the new PS5, you're looking at paying over $1,000. If you are looking at picking it up from from USD currency, you're looking at $700 and probably $75.
They'll round that up to $7.99 probably.
Yeah, and then if you're looking at if you're in Europe, that's going to be €675. So yeah, this is kind of going to be a deal breaker, I think, for some people. This is a lot of money. If this is true, which we don't know, that there might be a cheaper version of it, or this price might be might be like $100 or more too high. So yeah,
well, true. But Tara K points out in the chat that often to be determined consoles can have a temporary dummy like placeholder price that is often a lot higher than what it ends up as. And that could very well be true, and I know Tara K has, would have the knowledge to say that accurately. So that could be again, take it with a grain of salt. This is not a definitive thing by any stretch. What is happening over there?
That does sound like it is some kind of a robotic device that has come and retrieved something from my driveway. It's very interesting.
Oh, but, yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, let's get on to what happened today, though, at the IGN Expo. So there was some really cool stuff.
Was it the IGN Expo, or was it the IGN Yawn?
It had its fair share of yawn moments. There was some cool stuff revealed and some cool stuff announced, but there was a lot of boring stuff too. They did a lot of interviews set over top of gameplay that were really drawn out to the point where the gameplay started to loop. And at that point, it was like, well, you could have made this way more concise. Like we've seen what we need to see of this game. You could have made that way more concise. And there was a lot of cringe. The jokes that, the presenters and hosts were making were just terrible. So, a lot of cringe. But there was some cool stuff to be seen, too. So, it was good to... it's the kind of thing where, if, for the next one, I'm going to have it on in the background. Well, first of all, it was really fun to watch with our Triple S Legion in the Discord server. It was a blast. But, barring that... if I'm just watching it by myself, I'm going to put the next one on sort of in the background while I'm doing other stuff and kind of tune in when it grabs my attention. Although I'll need to cover it for the podcast and stuff, so I don't know. But that's what I would do if I was just watching it casually, that kind of thing, because there was a lot of wasted time. And I mean, it was still going when I left the stream to start prepping the podcast, so I didn't even see the tail end of it. But I did see everything that I cared to see. And we're going to cover 90% of it here. So, right out of the gate, they revealed Werewolf Apocalypse Earthblood, which I'm very intrigued by. It's I don't know what we knew about this one before. I don't remember hearing anything about it. But anyway, it's an action RPG based on the long-running series of tabletop games, the Werewolf tabletop games. And so they revealed an exclusive trailer today, and it shows a banished werewolf Kahal taking out his rage on corporations, destroying his clan's natural homes. So it was one of those cinematic trailers where it's like, you can't really tell what is actually going on, or what the story is, or what the gameplay is going to be like. But it was interesting. It was intriguing. The game aims to faithfully adapt the tabletop game, billing itself as mature and complex. You can check out there's some screenshots that have been released, etc., etc. So that one was interesting, and they went right out of the gate with that one. Now, unfortunately, it looks like it's going to be an Epic exclusive, whenever it releases, because they said you can wishlist it on Epic right now. Now, I did not know that Epic had a wish list, and somebody let me know. Do they yet have a shopping cart? I'm very curious.
Last I heard, they didn't, but that was like last time I bought it.
Yeah.
The look was a while ago.
Anyone, if any of you have bought multiple games at a time off Epic recently, let us know. Do they actually have a shopping cart? All right, so I'm not going to read it, Katet Cosmin, but that's funny. Okay, so yeah, Werewolf game looks cool. Interested to find out more about it. It's supposed to be an action RPG. Then it got into some less interesting stuff, but
I saw some kids games, and I have caught up to the Grand Theft Auto Horse.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Which is seemingly a brilliant idea that would keep me entertained for about 5 minutes. So,
well,
because it's apparently it's a completely isometric, like long zoom out, and you're just like, it's just kind of like there's power ups and stuff. It's like, it seems really bizarre.
Well, let's talk about that since you mentioned it. It's a little farther down on my list, but yes, it's called Rustler Grand Theft Horse. That is actually what the game is called. Now, I think I saw Notional in the chat who has he's been referring to Red Dead Redemption as Grand Theft Horsey forever as just kind of a joke, but Rustler Grand Theft Horse, that's the name of this game. Now, it does have an isometric top-down style similar to the original Grand Theft Auto games. Now, this is not in any way associated with Grand Theft Auto, as far as I know. Yeah, Snowshell, Grand Theft Horsey. That's literally what this game is now. So it's like a Grand Theft Auto style game. If you remember the old top-down, two-dimensional Grand Theft Autos, I don't know how many of you would have played them, but it looks like they're trying to capture that feel, but it's sort of set in the Old West. So, yeah, I don't know who this game is made for. But, I mean,
yeah,
I don't know, it might be fun. Might be the best game ever, but it didn't I don't know, didn't look that interesting to me personally. Untitled horse game, yeah. Game Notes is cool, working on a horse song already. Can you drift the horse? I doubt it.
It's very difficult to drift horses. I was able to do it once when going down a very steep embankment on a very, very snowy mountain. The horse did not enjoy it, but I mean, it's possible. I definitely wouldn't advise it.
Now, the combat did look kind of fun, but again, I don't know how long that gameplay loop would keep me interested. Anyway, yes, I find it hard to take a game that's literally calling itself Grand Theft Horse. I just can't take that seriously. All right, Metal Hellsinger. This was an interesting one. It's a rhythmic shooter, and at first I thought it was going to be like a VR game a la Saber Beat or Beat Saber, or whatever the actual name of that game is. I'm so confused now by that because you always say it wrong. But it's a rhythmic shooter, very much. I mean, it's like Doom with way worse graphics, and you try to shoot on the beat to do maximum damage. And so it's basically like Guitar Hero, but your guitar is a gun and you're shooting demons with it.
I'm watching it on 2 times speed right now, and I gotta say, oh lordy, you said it's VR.
No, it's not VR. It's I thought it would be VR,
See,
but
VR might make it slightly better, but this looks like it's nauseous city for me. I don't.
yeah.
Uh,
So
uh,
interesting. It's definitely a novel concept of this sort of 3D rhythmic shooter. I mean, it looks like a Doom ripoff,
mhm.
but with the rhythmic element added in. But you could probably do that as a mod for Doom, and it would just be a better game. Man, I'm really negative today. They're doing an Alex Kidd remake. Now, I'm not familiar with what the original game was, but it's a retro style game, pixel graphics, 2D platformer, and the main character you control is like a kid. I got kind of a Commander Keen vibe from it, although it's graphically very different.
See, I don't understand what the like why people think that Commander Keen is a kids game. Yeah, it was a kids game when it was out, but it's like all the fans of that game are now grown up. They shouldn't. I mean, I really don't think they should like keep it as a kids game originally aimed for 12-year-olds. I think they need to like do something with that IP better than what they've done now.
Well, yeah, they destroyed that IP. But anyway, this Alex Kidd game, looks like a true to form remake, and you can even switch it to retro style graphics. But even the non-retro graphics are still very retro, but they've upgraded it somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so yeah, I mean it looks like a fun platformer. I don't really know anything about it. I didn't play the original, but if you like that game, you might want to look at picking that one up. All right, we got a new trailer for Chivalry 2. Very bloody, intense medieval violence fighting game. First person. I don't know if you looked away for that one, Saib. It looked like Motion Sickness City. It is going to be available on next-gen consoles. So it's coming to PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and PC, and every version of it will feature cross-play. But it is going to be on PC. It's going to be an Epic exclusive for a year.
So. Okay, well, that definitely sounds like a game I'm not going to be playing for a year.
Mm-hmm. All right, Second Extinction. Co-op Doom with dinos instead of demons. That's what I took away from that. 3-player co-op. And I don't know. I like dinosaurs. I like the idea of shooting dinosaurs in a game. This one looked super generic, though. Mm-hmm. And especially if you have to play it co-op, that's a turn-off for me. I mean, all of these, like, don't just take my opinion for any of these. So, like, go and watch the trailers if anything sounds interesting. But, yeah, it's just... Now, it was early footage. It was like alpha footage or something. But it looked like it could have been Halo or Anthem or any, just generic sci-fi environments, generic wilderness. And yeah, certain scenes, it looked like it could have been one of the early Halos with better graphics and the aliens swapped out for dinosaurs. Yeah, I was like, what is going to make this game fun, unique, and interesting? And they didn't show me what was going to make that game fun, unique, and interesting. Dinosaurs are cool, and I kind of like to. I think a good dinosaur apocalypse game would be really cool, but this one. I'm not going to say it's bad. Again, we were seeing early footage, but didn't grab me. All right. Yakuza Like a Dragon.
I'm watching this now. I was expecting something a little bit different. But this is quite fascinating that it's like you get a party and you're like walking around getting into like battles with just generic like people on the street.
Yeah,
And
it's like it seemed like every. I know they were cutting.
Yeah,
They were cutting. They're cutting
it's
parts
very.
in to show you the action, but it kind of looked like everyone in this on the street wants to fight you.
It looks like a really funny version of like Final Fantasy. Like this is so it's so weird. It's so weird. But I don't know, maybe that's what they want to go for.
Hmm.
So,
Anyway, it deviates from the formula of previous games. It is it's more of an RPG. It's got turn-based, party-based combat. And at first, I didn't realize that the combat was turn-based at first because while the combat is paused, the characters are still sort of moving around in each other's faces, like egging each other on. I guess to make it look more alive. It was interesting. It was like, usually in turn-based games, your characters have some idle animations. They look around or whatever, but they're not sort of interacting and moving. These characters were actually moving, stepping forward, stepping back, moving side to side. So it was interesting from that aspect. I've never seen that before. And to some watching with us, it was off-putting. It wasn't off-putting to me, but it did. It was. I had some complaint about it, but I can't remember what it was now. But anyway, yeah. It's so if you're interested, if you like the Yakuza game series, just be aware that it does deviate from that format of previous games. All right. If you're at that point in the live stream, Sybe,
it's like who in the
you
world
have seen then the Waylanders trailer.
I may have missed that.
Oh, okay. Well, see, this is one
I
really
was kind of skipping around a little bit. Was it before or after this?
It was before the Yakuza one.
Ooh.
So it was right before Second Extinction. So, all right. Well, this I was hoping for your opinion.
I saw a second. Okay, so before Second Extinction. Okay.
So this was a new game announcement, and this one I think you'll be interested in. This is an RPG set in the Celtic Age, and it's coming to early access in summer 2020. It's got party-based pause and play style combat, and the combat in it was kind of interesting. Like you could move your parties in formation, have like little.
Oh, okay. Yes, I did see that. I didn't catch the name of that one, but I was like, oh, this looks mildly interesting.
Well, later on in the stream, they do more of an in-depth breakdown, but that's later on. It's near the end, so you'll get to that. Earlier on, they just showed the trailer. But
Okay.
Anyway, here's a description from IGN. The Waylanders is a tactical RPG set in a mythological take on Celtic Spain. The early access version will contain 10 to 12 hours of the planned 40-hour full game and will include 8 distinct locations divided into 40 maps. And this was a Kickstarter-funded project. Waylanders sees you take a party into the wilderness, choosing from 6 basic classes and hundreds of potential skills. The key innovation is combat formations, where you can fuse multiple characters into historical and fantastical formations to allow for advanced tactics.
Yeah, I saw a bit where you had a couple of spearmen doing like a turtle.
Yeah.
And turtles don't work that small, but yeah, it's kind of like cool concept.
Yeah, well, and it's supposed to be a little bit fantastical. He also mentioned in the later interview that happened something about bouncing back and forth between different periods of time. So the early access is going to feature this Celtic era, but apparently part of the game takes place later in the Middle Ages, something like that. So anyway,
it looks interesting. Looks interesting, yeah.
And the art style, I like the art style. A lot of the people I was watching with liked the look of it. It's sort of a, I don't want to say cartoonish because that makes it sound almost childish, but it's I don't know, it's stylized. It's kind of got a Zelda Breath of the Wild vibe, just in terms of the artwork of it. So, all right, so that's all that's on. I covered my whole first page of notes. What do you know? Okay, Beyond Blue. Now this was an interesting one because it looks like it's going to be kind of an educational, like a ocean simulator. It features footage from Blue Planet 2, which was it's a nature documentary, and it's a really well done nature documentary. It's got hang on one second here. All right, set in the near future. Take on the role of a deep explorer and scientist, Mirai, and explore the mysteries of our ocean when Beyond Blue launches on June 11th. It's going to PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. Now, so that's coming pretty quick. That's tomorrow. Jeez, that this launches. So, yeah, it was interesting. Like, I didn't get a huge grasp of what this actually is, but it looks like you're exploring the ocean literally in this game. But it looks like it's a realistic take on ocean exploration. You play the role of a scientist. You're studying real animals, so it looks like it could be a learning tool. Or if you're just, really into learning about ocean life. Plus, it features some mini documentaries that you unlock along the way, and footage from Blue Planet 2 and stuff like that. So it's a game, but also it looks like part realistic simulator, part game. What proportions of each is it? That will it actually turn out to be? I don't know. But anyway, it looked interesting. It looks, curious to learn more about it. Terra K says, I was hoping Beyond Blue was a spin-off from Mass Effect about the Asari. Yeah, unfortunately not. Oh.
Oh, that's very funny. That's very funny. Oh my. I have a theory that if they were to ever continue Mass Effect, I think that one of the best things they could do is have the main character be like an Asari, because it would be like the child of Commander Shepard. I just think that would be pretty cool.
Commander Shepard the Third is an Asari. Yeah, that makes sense.
It makes sense. We
know which of those scenes is canon now. All right. So then, Pathfinder Kingmaker Definitive Edition is coming to consoles. So there you go. And there's a game called Demon Turf, which I don't know. It was a really heavily stylized 3D platformer. It was kind of a mix of retro and cartoony, and just it was bizarre because the environments were 3D, cell shaded, kind of and cartoony. The main character was a 2D sprite, as were a lot of the enemies, and so it was just a really weird mix of things. Visually very unique. It looked like it would be hard to play for long durations. I don't know. Again, might be the greatest game ever, but it looked almost overly stylized to the point where it interferes with gameplay.
Yeah.
That's kind of my assessment.
That is something that when you are creating kind of a stylized game, is you do run that risk, and it's so hard to it's so hard to get this strike this perfect balance. And
again, I hesitate too because it's hard to tell from a trailer. Yeah, I hesitate to say oh, it doesn't look good. It's just it's There were a lot of games featured today that just did not look interesting, and was like, are you showing us the best aspects of your game? If you're not, why not? If you are, why would I be interested in it? You know. And there was a lot of alpha footage being shown, and I mean, we kind of have to account for that. But another problem though was that they would a lot of the gameplay dragged on and on. I mentioned this earlier, didn't I? To the point where it would loop while there's people talking over top of it. It could have been way more concise because, like I said, we were 2 hours into it. I think. When did it start?
It did appear as if everybody was like seriously like in a time slow. It's like even at 2x speed, it's still really slow. And this is kind of like, well, it's kind of like all the bunch of those, a ton of those people that were on TV, had all these giant shows, and then they went home and they tried to do TV shows from their living room, and turns out this stuff's a lot harder than they think it is. So it's kind of, I think we're kind of getting the same reaction here, where it's like, oh yeah, we'll just get everybody on screen, we'll just talk for like 3 hours on stuff. And it's like, don't think that was the best idea.
Yeah. There was a lot of cringe in the banter and the commentary. It was like, who approved these jokes? Did nobody? It needed kind of a writer and producer to kind of manage everything. I feel like it was just it dragged. Again, it was still fun to watch with a crew of people.
Yeah,
who were all, kind of making fun of the cringe with me, but yeah, there you go. Okay, so we just talked about Demon Turf. So I don't know. Demon Turf, it was both cool and really weird.
Yeah,
go check it out.
I'm checking out the footage now. It is very interesting, the like the stylistic choice and how they have it's like pseudo 3D. It's very interesting. I mean, it looks nauseous AF.
As we were watching it, I was like, "There's no way Side would play this game," because it was super jittery, and
I would try to play this game mostly because the character is very cute and has some hilarious transformations. So yeah, but I don't suspect it's kind of like the Sonic game. It's like Sonic to me, like I had been playing it wrong for so long, and what I should have been playing was I should have been playing it as a speedrunning game, not as an exploration game. But I always wanted to explore and look at the nooks and crannies or destroy everything on the map, and it's like, yeah, that's not what the game was for.
No, it's about blasting your way through.
Yeah.
But there were secrets in it. Like, I know there were secrets hidden around if you did do some exploring.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. Let's talk about Wasteland 3. Have you gotten there yet?
Yeah, so I did check out Wasteland 3 like kind of early on. I keep getting more and more annoyed the more and more I see from this game. It's like, at first I was like, yeah, I can't wait for this. This is going to be great. I'm really looking forward to this. And then every trailer they put out just seems to annoy me more and more and more. And it's like, it's one of these games where it's like, I don't know what it is, because I pre-ordered Necromundo, the Underhive Wars, partially because it's I want to try a couple of streamable games this summer, and so this is one of the ones that it came in cheap. It was on a good sale. I believe the sale is still ongoing. If you're interested in team play, turn-based games, this is going to be one. I don't know if it's good, and there's not even any gameplay. I know. I'm breaking my own rule when it comes to pre-ordering. I highly recommend that you do not pre-order any game that you can't see the gameplay of, unless you happen to, review stuff as part of what you do. But I was super annoyed like very annoyed that I could not, that I can't. Every time I watch something from Wastelanders 3 or Wasteland 3, it's just it it really annoys me. Like it gets more and more annoying, and I think it's the enemies a little bit maybe here, because it does appear as if the enemies are just kind of like this. They're really like, it's like there's no creativity. I think it's like basic like, oh look, stereotypical bad guy, yeah. And it's like I can't find that interesting. Not because it's not something that has happened, before in other games, like, in Fallout. It's like, yeah, sure, I guess typical bad guys in Fallout 1 and 2, sort of like very interesting, unique creation of the master and his army and all that kind of stuff. And you could say, well, that wasn't, that was mildly, so what's your problem with this one? And my problem with this one is that I think it's the lack of like generic people in the world. It's like in Fallout, you show up at a town and it's like the entire town's not hostile. You can make them hostile, you certainly do that, but I don't get that sense of like world with depth and world with people in this one. So I don't know what it is. It could be something else, but for whatever reason, every time I see Wastelanders, it's like I keep saying Wastelanders, Wasteland 3. Every time I keep seeing Wasteland 3, I get more and more disinterested in it, and which is really too bad, because the combat is looking a little bit better, but it's, I believe they're trying to emulate. I think I know what it is. They're trying to emulate XCOM instead of emulating the original Fallout. It's like Fallout 1 was basically a spiritual successor to Wasteland 1. And Wasteland, like the whole history is that the people who created Fallout, the original Fallout 1, had worked on Wasteland, and then they lost access to the license, and they were told that they couldn't use their character system, so they had to create a new one from the ground up. That's where they created the special system. And yeah, so there was this thing where it was like, originally it was all about like, wandering the wasteland, keeping people safe, and it evolved into very much of a real RPG system. I don't call this an RPG. I don't call XCOM, as good of a game as that was, I don't call XCOM an RPG. I call it, tactical squad-based game. And I'm not interested in tactical squad-based games unless they can offer me something a little bit more than what they're doing, because right now they're kind of like sort of like a dime a dozen. So I want something that's unique and interesting and like, special. And it's like, now it's like with Wasteland 3, it's like, hey, you get to roll around and fight bad guys who are oppressing people that you'll never interact with. I think that's what it was. So
Okay,
yeah,
interesting.
I don't know.
What did you think of the new factions that were revealed? They had the
again. I gotta see more than just like what they showed. Wasn't interesting for me.
What, AI Reagan? You didn't find AI Reagan to be just the most scintillating?
No. And see, that was one of the things. Is like I saw AI Reagan and I'm like, what is this? What is this garbage? It's like, why even? Like, why even? I don't get it. Like I it's like the thing looks boring AF. So yeah, for some reason, whatever it was with AI Reagan and some of the other factions was like, this is boring. I've seen this too many times before. It's not interesting.
All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. A couple of other quick things. Observer is getting a redux version, like graphically upgraded version of Observer. As far as I understand, it's basically the same game, but they still spent way too much time on it. Observer is a great game. Don't get me wrong. I definitely recommend checking it out. It's a really good game if you're into that genre of games. But yeah, so it's getting a redux. So if you're thinking about getting it, maybe you want to wait for the new version. Dual Universe is some kind of shipbuilding combat game that's multiplayer, and you can, players can build their own ships. I really wasn't able to grasp too much of what it was actually about because I was distracted while that one was playing. But anyway, if that sounds like your cup of tea, you can check that out. And the third Borderlands 3 DLC was announced, Bounty of Blood. And there were a couple other things on the tail end that I missed just because, I had to leave the stream to actually prep for this podcast. But let's talk about Mortal Shell. That was near the end, but I did catch the trailer, and I am intrigued by this game. I'm really intrigued by this game, and it's going to be getting a week-long closed beta starting Friday, July 3rd. And so I am going to be checking out how to try to get into that, because I think this is an interesting one. It's kind of a Souls-like action RPG, and I'm intrigued by the aspect of inhabiting the bodies of like vanquished warriors from the past and gaining their abilities. But it's these larger than life fantastical type characters. So it's really interesting.
Yeah. So when I first saw this, I was like, oh wow, this is cool. I really like the combat system. I think this is definitely kind of a step up in a couple of places. It's obviously, Dark Souls type of thing. Exploration feels pretty interesting. World and exploration feels great. And I was like, and I had hopped in the chat and I was talking with some of the peeps in the chat. And I was like, and they were like, oh yeah, no, this is looking pretty good. And I was like, yeah, I could get behind this. What kind of character creator they got? No character creator. Can't change your armor or do, much of that stuff because you don't have a character. You're a ghost. You just steal bodies. And at that moment, I was like, well, that'll be great to watch other people play this game.
Yes, not your cup of tea.
I
can definitely get behind it though.
Yeah. See, I mean, you and I, like, one of the first like really big, like, not really big, one of our favorite games from the past, being Jedi Academy, the Jedi Knight series, had a particular character that I played that there were certain characters I could be like just like not good at. I couldn't play them for whatever reason. And I think it had something to do with like the morphs, the skeleton, the models, and how the textures like interacted with it. But it's like I have to click with my character in order to like really get it. And that's why I like games that actually have like, it's not just a different skin, it's like an actual different, like, or you can customize your character, like height, width, adjust, like, especially when you adjust like gape and like stride length. It's like little things like that suddenly change the game for me completely. And so this game, I feel it might be like kind of like Warframe. I have the same problem with Warframe. I have zero interest, nor do I have zero skill in like 95% of the classes in Warframe. But occasionally I have like one or two characters that is like, it's just my jam, and then I just get into it, and it's a beautiful thing. It's like right away I'm thinking it's like I'd have to see all the characters, I'd have to like play around with all of their abilities, and then when I found one that I liked, I probably would have one, maybe two. And that's the exact same thing in Warframe. Is like I have two character frames, which suck because it limits me in what I can, like, how I can level up. Because in order to level up in that game, you have to level up, frame and different weapons and stuff like that. And there are people who have maxed out every single frame, and I'm like, no. If I'm forced to level from like baseline to max on just one of those frames, I am absolutely not interested in it. And that's what eventually made me like uninstall the game, is because it's just having not having the ability to customize, create, and then have your own character that's you, is like something that I can't really get behind. But I do like the overall direction of this Mortal Shell game, and the concept is very good. I'm not knocking, that other people might like the game. I think it looks like a good game that's pushing the boundaries of this. And they're actually, I had told this story. There's a very big MMO that was playing around with having one of these types of characters where you just steal other characters in the world, NPCs, and then you have them and you just inhabit their body essentially, and you just run around with it. And that system's always been interesting. And I definitely, like, in an MMO, I would love a class like this. I would never play the class, but I would love a class like this. I might play the class. It's like, if I did play the class, it'd be like one or two character types that I would inhabit, just because, whatever synced with me. And if nothing synced with me, I would have no interest in playing it whatsoever. So it's like, yeah, great idea, great concept. I think this is going to be great, but I'm not going to touch it.
Well, I will definitely be checking it out if at all possible. It looks like my jam. I loved Sekiro. Those
this
tough as nails
like
games. I do thoroughly enjoy. I'm intrigued by the concept of this, where you're not just playing one character with one set of abilities, but you can gain the abilities of other, these vanquished warriors from the past. Like I said, sounds good. Sounds good to me. And with that, we're right up against the clock. So highlights, definitely Werewolf Apocalypse. Waylanders was definitely a highlight.
Yeah, that one's going to be really interesting. I watched a little bit more of it here while we were talking, and it looks interesting. This is going to be an interesting game, especially if it's
the crew, like, I was watching with was definitely intrigued by it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the co-op really makes me, like, raise my eyebrow on that. So I'd say the Waylanders, the Werewolf game, and Mortal Shell were my highlights. Beyond Blue also is an intriguing concept. Some other interesting games that I probably won't check out, but then again, lowlights, just the cringe and the way it dragged on was like, well, could have been presented better. Like, it just definitely could have been presented better. I don't know if these people came up with their own jokes or what, but yeah, the freeform interviews. I honestly could not tell if this was being done live or pre-recorded. If it was pre-recorded, they definitely should have tightened up those interviews. And if it wasn't pre-recorded, then they should have pre-recorded it and tightened up those interviews. So there you go. That's my opinion on the presentation of it. With that, we're going to wrap up the show for today. So thank you so much, everybody, for the great conversation in the chat. Sorry I couldn't read more of your messages. Just had a lot to get through. But join the Discord. You can talk to us there. Watch some more of the events live. Saib and I will be there if we can, but you can always watch with other community members. All of the events that are coming up, or anything else you want to. We had a bunch of people watching the rocket launch recently together. They had a lot of fun doing that, so definitely check out the Discord server, and don't forget to slam the like button before you leave here today. We really appreciate that. It helps us out a lot. Also, if you subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave comments if you're listening after the fact. All of that helps us out a ton. I want to especially thank our big damn heroes on Patreon: Robin, Shua82, Time Bean, Schoolaman, and our 2 anonymous supporters at that tier on Patreon there. Thank you all so much for making the Legion a wonderful place and making it possible for us to continue what we're doing here. Our channel members on YouTube: Mr. Pazernik, Jer Schultz, Game Notes, Night City Punk, Terror K, and Somnolence. Thank you all so much. And if you're listening after the fact, on SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, or any of the other platforms this podcast goes to, we appreciate your interactions there as well. And don't forget, you can catch the live show on YouTube on Wednesdays and Saturdays and get the latest info sooner, because there is a delay in getting the audio version of the platform up to those other platforms. So yeah, you can listen to the live show and interact with us and other listeners. This podcast is a presentation of the Triple S League. Check out our YouTube channel for game guides, reviews, comedy, news updates, and tons more quality gaming content. My name is Ash. On behalf of Saib, thank you all so much for listening. We'll talk to you again very soon.